Shit. Here. Here. 867. Six, three, three, three. 2341. Eight, 86, 80, 63. 86, 80, 63. 86, 80, 63. 86, 80. And here. He's on. Set this up here. Yeah. All right. We'll go here. Okay. Admit. Hello, how you doing, sir?
Good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you, Brandon, for showing interest in wanting to talk to me at all. I'm so grateful to talk to you.
Yeah, same here. I watched your video with Non-Duality. I can't remember the other person's name where the camera was moving around.
You know what, I ended up having, you know what the horrible thing about that is? That's one of those portals from Facebook, and I just bought the brand new big screen and all that, and I left it on after the first time I used it for like 2 weeks, where it was just searching and searching, and I didn't realize, you know, I had to shut the thing off. So when I go to shut it back to use it again, I have to reboot it or whatever. And the security, the ID number is not on the thing; it's on the box, and they tell you. So it's not on the item itself. And I had just thrown the box away, like right the day before I needed the serial number, and I knew when I threw it away, I'm like, I should save this for some reason. And then I thought I had to buy another one, but I was thinking, you know, I mean, how many people have to buy 2 of these things because there's no serial number on the back of the actual item? I mean, isn't that, you know, I don't know. I went ahead and bought another one, and I figured, you know, I've studied up on it, so next time I'll be able to focus it and keep the camera on me at all times.
I enjoyed it. It was like part of the interview. It was, I don't know how to explain it, but it was
meant to be.
yeah, like it couldn't have been better somehow.
Well, that's amazing. I'm loving that, because yeah, it was definitely an intro. That was my very first the very first time I'd ever done anything like that. I'd ever been interviewed for anything. And you know, just coming out and you know, showing my face and stuff. I mean, it's one of those things where people were trying to encourage me to do it, and I finally just said okay. And then, and then to have that showing, the first one, I think we did 2 interviews, because the first one was so bad with my phone. I mean, I was so all over the place that that's what got me to get the portal in the first place. And then the portal did
Mhm.
its thing. So we couldn't even use the first one. And the second one was as it was. So, yeah, that was my first. And I thought, well, that's perfect.
Have you had a lot of people contacting you after that?
You know what? It's been amazing. I have to say, I've had I've come out of my shell a little bit, I figured, I was going to give it a go. And yes, I had a 4-hour conversation this morning with a guy that I've talked to before for once before live, and we've had a back and forth on Facebook. And he's a great. It was just amazing. He's a great guy, Alex. And there's been already Giselle Suarez, and I've got an oh man, here's the big one. You won't believe this. I got an interview. I'm going to interview uh, Andreas Mueller on the 7th.
Huh.
Can you believe that, dude? He's coming. I call. This the story is it's kind of funny. I've talked to him a couple times before, and just on it was so weird how I got to do that. That you know uh, I never thought that he would actually. I saw one of his links. I said, man, I'd love to be able to talk to him about this particular point. And I thought I'd never be able to do that. And then one day, I mean, it was like 3 days later, I was talking to him, and at one of his retreats, somebody had just given me a ticket, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I'm in there for like 2.5 minutes, and the next thing I know, I'm talking, uh, and I said, please just give me 5 minutes, and I won't ask another question. Just please follow me through this thing. And I was nervous. There's like 11 people there, they're all wanting to ask their own questions and all this stuff. And so I take them through this process, but we get all the way to the end of it. And I said, you see? And he just looked at me, and he was like, I didn't think he would like have it. And the next thing I know, he's just like, And I said, so you don't have to do this like this, you do it like this. He said, oh yes, blah, blah, blah. You do whatever you want. And so I bowed away because everybody was wanting to do their thing. So I just kind of sat there silently for a little bit and then just let the retreat. I've heard all of those questions before, and it's like, all right, so I was just amazed that I didn't know what to do when he agreed, when he was like, yeah, I see what you're saying. And so I was just amazed. And when I left and was starting to do my own thing, he called me, messaged me after the retreat and said, hey, do you want to talk? And so we had, like a few days later, had a little Zoom meeting, and it was amazing. I mean, he was really just a really great guy, and we just, I have no issue at all with how he does it. I think it's beautiful. Um, and we were just talking about how funny language is and words and things like that, and how people use different techniques to do different things. So I said, you know what, you only live once. So I just messaged him. I said, would you mind doing this thing? I just started this sourcelessness page, and I just did that interview, and I'm trying to get off the ground here. You only live once. Would you mind? And he messaged me right back. He was like, yeah, he's no problem, sure. And I was like, wow. Come on, I can't complain. I can't complain at all. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I feel that way with you right now. Like I feel lucky to be talking to you, you know.
What? Get this. You know what he did with me? And thank you for that compliment, by the way. That's amazing. And I feel the same way. You got this Irie kind of like, you got a nice vibe going. But he says to me, I asked him, I said, look, I say things differently than you do, but I like the way you do it. And if I think somebody can benefit from your style or whatever, would you mind? I'm kind of gonna fly your flag a little bit and maybe use some of your techniques, and just refer people to you in certain situations. Would you mind that? And he said no. He said I did the same thing with Tony Parsons. I said, wow. I mean, I said really? He goes, yeah. I said he goes, yeah, I did the same thing. I called him and I said, look, I'm going to do my own thing, but I'm going to use some of your stuff. And do you mind? And it's been really nice, And I said, and I don't know why I said it, but maybe we could do a collaboration someday. And he goes, well, if we do, that'll just be the way, it'll just be what's happening. And I never really did actually think that it would get to an interview part, I mean, like we were going to have a one-on-one. So to be honest with you, that to me is just the most incredible thing that, amongst a bunch of incredible stuff that's been going on lately.
Yeah, I really appreciate. One of the things that was amazing is I've noticed like there's multiple threads on Facebook where you were talking about how you can't know anything. I'm gonna paraphrase because I can't remember, and the back and forth felt so familiar. Like I've had that conversation with people before, and it went the same way. Like there were the same responses and the same not getting it, like total inability to get it. And I was like amazed because I'd had these myself, but I'd never seen this type of exchange happen like in any of the non-duality circles or anything. I'd never actually seen that
really
happen
nice
that way.
Hey, the beautiful, it's it's so nice when you can actually come to these kind of you just it's not knowledge, it's not understanding, it's not present. There is no word for it. There is nothing that you can say that would be accurate. But within the appearance of this existence and this time and space and matter and motion and all that stuff, consciousness and separation, this story that has absolutely no foundation whatsoever, it's just beautiful. And within that story there are the context of individuals that within this context of a Q&A and a conversation, we have our consciousness. It's within, and the memory and all that stuff, with as the appearance of individuals in time and space. It's impossible to negate that in this context. And so to negate the conceptual self in order to complete what is already whole doesn't make any sense in this context. You just don't attach any foundation to the idea that you actually are human and you live on earth and you're in time and space, matter and motion, cause and effect. Consciousness is real. All of that is a story that has no validation whatsoever, and there's no way to validate it. But within that context, you can share this paradoxical understanding, with another appearance, a subjective appearance. You know what I mean? You can actually enjoy the fact that you're subjective and foundationless and tetherless. Yes, but that is what it is. It's not objectively real, but reality itself is what thought, is it dualistic? Is it subject object? Is it me looking at other things? Is that so? I'm an objective point of reality in which all things are relative to my understanding, and that is all I can know. And if that's the truth, how do you know you're conscious? If you are the point of reality in which all things are relative, that make matter and motion, subject object, self and other, relevant and actual, then tell me how you know you're thinking. What is the origin of your thought? And most people would say a brain in time and space. And if that's the case, you have a subjective story that cannot be verified because you are not your brain. So you cannot know what your brain is, or even if it exists in an objective sense. It seems to exist, yes. A lot of things seems to exist, but it's not objectively true that it does. And therefore, the mind, which is theoretically the byproduct of this brain, this consciousness in time and space that is telling a story about its validity, is unsubstantiated. And who is it telling it to? If you are not your mind or your brain, who are you? You know, so
Yeah, that moment, that point goes like, I mean, I only really, to be honest, have a memory of being young and looking at that point of like, what is it? Like, I looked out the car window and I imagined this kid looking back, and I imagined that he was imagining me looking back at him, like it was an infinite mirror thing.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I was imagining someone else imagining that I was conscious, and then it like shattered something, and like all I there was this this like tremendous, that there's like I don't even have a memory, like, and that's all I have is this certainty that it's un and utterly like beyond everything, beyond like all ability to grasp at it, to, in that ungraspability is like mind blowing, and like the important like the important thing, like if you were to have a foundation for like life or whatever, it would be that, which
right.
isn't a foundation.
The foundationless yes, yes, exactly. That's the foundation. The lack, the exponentially expanding lack of foundation is foundation. I mean, that's what it is. So, you know, yeah, that's amazing. I mean, yeah, to grasp the lack of foundation as the only objective reality that we can know is that we can't know. And so to grasp at the foundationless is paradoxically, you know, and counterintuitively our natural state, you know, within this conceptual Q&A of individuals having a conversation in time and space. It's amazing, um, because it does, you know, it's uh, Alex and I were talking about, you know, I think, what was it? He was saying presence before thought. You know, does something exist that is not thought? You know, is there something prior to or post to thought? You know, paradoxically outside of time and space. Um, you know, is there something that you can consider reality that is not thought? You know, and that's a slippery one. You know, that's really slippery. You know, what is real in the first place? You know, I mean, you get into the foundationless nature of what we are, the subjective, no foundation has, you know, this consciousness that dreams it, you know, that has a dream, and that dream is also subjective and foundationless in some capacity. You know, a unicorn exists with a dream or whatever. In some capacity we exist as an appearance of two people having a Q&A, and in some capacity something exists beyond thought, as in direct experience and what cannot be spoken of, that thing that we just can't, it's impossible to say because
Yeah,
it's, you know, words are duplicitous. So, and what we're trying to say is not duplicitous. There's no 2 points in time and space, and so you can't say it. Language is, it's almost like quantum physics and physics, as an analogy, and that they, you know, they both are absolutely necessary for our understanding of reality, but they can't exist together. And it's the same thing, you know, like dualism and non-dualism is essential for any kind of, you know, but it's still, it's both at the same time, and neither and something else. But what I'm getting at is that what you can't speak of could very well be another foundationless conceptual, you know, being in another dimension, in the same way that a unicorn lives in the dream state of our subjective understanding of consciousness, which is totally baseless and foundationless. But so it's a dream within a dream within a
yeah,
dream. And when you get to that next presence or whatever you want to call it, and you think it's like the not even nothing, and you're at the answer, it is in fact just another subjective, no, nothing exponentially, going into yet another non-dimensional realities. It just never ends, I mean, so, and that's the reality as I see it. I mean, that's how, I mean, is that reality? I can't know, you know.
Yeah, if there was like something outside of me, it would never know it. Like it couldn't, like a rock would never know that it's a rock. Maybe there's something in you. Maybe you exist. Maybe you have something inside of you.
You know, no, I think we do and we don't. Doesn't I think existence itself does exist as it appears, but I mean, it does exist in that something is here, but it doesn't exist as it appears. So, existence exists as an appearance, but it doesn't exist as it appears. And
Uh,
it's paradoxical in that, we appear in time and space, but it's not time and space. It's we appear to be dimensional, but it's not substantiated. Um, uh, yeah, the I don't know. I lost my train right there. I lost my train of thought. you know.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that means, you know? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what time. I know like we have yesterday and tomorrow, and we have
hmm
plans and things. But when we talk about the time that's an illusion, I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know. I feel like I probably have that time, and maybe not having it go away
hmm
means I don't know what it is because I haven't seen it go away to be able to see it or something. I don't know.
I've been working. You believe it or not, that weird, like the cone thing. I said during that first interview, the not even nothing interview, or the nothing FM interview, um, the cone thing. The funniest thing is, I said that as a joke, to, it's like to have a symbolism, to somebody asked me, can you draw me a symbol? That was the funniest thing. So I said, yeah, it's like a cone, and I made it as a joke, and then the next thing I know, I'm saying it on this video. But but actually I've actually used it a couple of times since then. So what appears to be me in this here and now, what appears to be you, me, consciousness, everything that is thought and thinking and reality, time and space, matter and motion, cause and effect, that comes down into this point of where did, you lose track of reality, or you had to shift, or whatever it was, shift in perspective. When did that happen? So you come into this, I was calling it like this thin veneer of a flat surface, but it's kind of a timeline in that, it's just this weird flat graph paper where, I did this at this point in this time. Well, okay, so you come back here, that point hits that graph, and at the bottom of the graph is absolutely nothing having to do with separation. And so there's just no way to comport me here now talking to you and timelessness. It's impossible to do. um but yet that's what it is. I mean, that's truly what it is. I mean, there, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's impossible to say, and it's not like I'm trying to claim truth or anything like that. I'm not. But
Yeah.
if there's, it's just, if you don't believe in anything that the consciousness is saying, insofar as, thought is reality. Okay, so nothing outside of consciousness is real. So everything that I'm experiencing is real. Yet I can't, there is no definition of anything. I mean, nothing specifically. Um, objects themselves are subjective, you know, uh, and it's all a matter of, very, all kinds of differences. Even if you want to believe in time and space, it negates itself. Um, and any physicist would tell you that, I mean, the deeper they go, the more they see it. It has nothing, matters. There's nothing there. So it's a matter of velocity and scale, and um, uh, all kinds of things, gravity, X, Y, and Z, and but none of it is objectively true. And there's nothing really from that vantage point that you could say like a neuron is different from what it's observing and all of that kind of. So even if you want to be a scientist, you're looking at a very odd universe. I mean, you're looking at,
Yes.
so a very subjective situation. Even if you want to believe that you are a point in time and space, you it's impossible to describe it. You can't
It doesn't
you
make
can't
any sense.
it makes no sense whatsoever if you believe the story. Even if you believe it, you can't know. So why believe anything? Just as a thought experiment, drop the
Yeah.
idea that you're thinking. And it's it still won't make any difference to what appears, but paradoxically, but it's yeah, why even why believe it? And if you really, and I'm not, it's not a method or anything, but there are times when you truly don't believe anything, and yeah, every time will drop away, and it feels that way anyways. I mean, you lose sense of anything. And there's all kinds of different things you can go about with that, but yeah, instead of believing the story, which is, I mean, great. If you want to believe it, I'll go with you all day long. We could talk about all kinds of different theories and ideas, and I have no problem with that, because it will all lead to the unknowable. No matter how intelligent you are, if Stephen Hawking was sitting here with Albert Einstein, the first thing they would say is this is conceptual and unknowable. We're
Yeah.
we're saying things here in a very abstract sense, and from the get-go, that we are in fact objects in time and space is not verified objectively. That if we're going to talk about reality, that is the first reality is that you can't know that you are an individual in time and space. So from there, it is all a matter of what appears to be gravity. That this is dropping, and you can shoot rockets to the moon and all that kind of stuff. Um, in the appearance of a here and now, you can do that all day long, but it doesn't make it um, uh, true. In that, if you don't believe it, um, yeah, there are different things that you might see.
Is there that like absolute stillness in the timelessness?
So weird, the still, yeah, for my take on it, it was so uh yeah, absolute stillness covers it, sure, absolutely. My thing, it was so weird because it's impossible to talk about, but it just lines, colors, dimension itself, the just words, it just anything, objects, absolutely just gone, and obliterated, and yourself. I mean, that's the thing. Once that goes, it's impossible to say. It's impossible to describe. So there's no way to do that. There's no way to talk about that. But once you have the shift, you really can't look at. You just can't look at anything the same. It just never is the same way. You can't go back. As much as I love, uh, is the Saturn uh missions leaving the solar system and all of that, the Voyager spaceships, leaving the
Oh
solar
yeah.
system, and all, and just I love the science stuff, all of that fascinates me, and scientists, I love talking to scientists, um but or reading their stuff, but you know I can never, I will never be able to look at it and say this is real, because I just don't know how to define that. There is no objective reality for me in which to make any statement like that true. Yeah, I would be like, hey, thank you so much, you're the best. And so for that, so it's which is beautiful, I mean, um it's just I don't know, I'm sorry, am I talking too much?
No, no, no. It's weird what you're saying. It's like there's a uh you're talking about everything being obliterated, you know. Like I've had moments it's just like where like you're saying, I think like there's no way to describe it. And I remember when it was done, like I kind of came back and there was like tears coming down. And then the mind kind of said, "Oh, you're crying because that was so beautiful and amazing." But that was just a story. That was just this tiny little story the brain was trying to make about it, or the mind, or whatever thought. And in some way, I think that was true. It feels true. Like some part of me was like, "Wow, that's amazing." But I don't know what it was.
That's a good sign.
you know,
Yes, ma'am. I'm not exactly sure where they are. They might be over there, or over there, or right here behind. There's see that black table right there? There might be some there, or in that closet. Either one of them. Sorry, my first day with it's her first day, and so yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
yeah, well, that's just where this, that's where the story of where this curiosity comes from, is these moments, and like these, what you're saying resonates with that in some way. But I can tell, I mean, I have a sense that like you said, like there's a shift, like there's like a change.
Mhm.
Like I feel like maybe something happened, I resonated with something about it for a moment, and then it was gone.
Right.
And I don't know, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
believe I can get anything from you, but it's like comforting to talk to you. you know Okay. Oh my
That's great. You're killing me, man. You're killing me.
Wow.
That's beautiful, man. Thank you. I don't know what to say to that other than I'm a lucky fella, I guess. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, thank you so much. It's amazing, and right back at you, by the way. You know, yeah. Well, the thing is that people. I, sh- I'm just slow on the uptake sometimes, man. People will say, "Hey, man, it's so great what you're doing," and this and this. And for on Facebook for a long time, every now and again, like every 6 months, somebody would say something like that. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And all the people, that you're talking to and helping or whatever, however they said it. And so, what people? What do you mean? And it just never occurred to me that I was actually talking to to people and having some kind of effect. And the thing about it is it was way later. I mean, it was amazing how when I started the group. Um, yeah, I mean, I was shocked at the response. I actually handled it kind of poorly. I was like, oh my god, I didn't know how to deal with people that actually wanted to talk to me. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden, all my life, it's like nobody wants. You got to be careful who you say this stuff to. And the next thing I know, I'm like, people are like, so hey, what about this? And half of me didn't, I didn't know how to deal with that at all. So it's been, it's one of those things where yeah, I've grown accustomed to it, and grown accustomed to people being around and being positive and being nice, and everybody's kind of, you know, I, people should be able to say what they want, right? Yeah, people should say what they want. People should say and do whatever they want, and as long as they're kind and nice, um, they're nice, they're doing the best they can to be nice to each other for whatever that's worth. That's kind of who I want to be around. And uh,
Hmm.
it turns out that I was, I've been just unbelievably lucky. But to have to this, to have you say that is, that's, thank you, man. I mean, that's amazing to me. It's just, it's unbelievable, and I'm gonna remember that forever. I appreciate it.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's true. And it's really bizarre because I used to tell people like you can't know anything and they wouldn't get it. And I would try to explain it and they wouldn't get it. And sometimes like people would get really upset. Like even when I was a kid and like I would tell a teacher that or something, they would get angry sometimes.
Yeah,
And I was a
yeah.
kid, so I learned not to talk about it because it like I didn't understand that either. And now it's like this awesome reversal where like you're like there's like more to it than I know. And I don't get it. I don't get like it's like I don't get not getting it even more.
No,
Like,
no, no.
like you don't get it even more than I didn't get it. And it's like amazing. Like
People say to me sometimes, this is funny. They say you think too much, and I always say, but doesn't that assume that you think people think? I mean, if you're not an individual in time, I mean, if you don't exist, if you're not an individual in time and space, well, then you're not. It's not you doing anything. So if I'm curious about stuff, I'm not just as a side note, it's not that I'm looking for an answer. It's that everything I look at shows me that there's no answer, not in a definitive sense. You cannot know objective truth. And so to look just shows you more ways that you can't know. And so for me to have that fun, I mean, it's more beautiful. The more you look, the less you can know. And it's just, it just grows to be able to talk about the subtle nuances of what cannot be spoken of, like every now and again, so gets so close to something resembling truth in regards to non-duality. And it's not, but there's this like just subtle dance with what can't be spoken of. And every now and again something akin to magic, it's just that cool where like, wow, that was amazing. That saying or what was said or what was shared or the subtle nuance of the situation. And all of that is done in separation, and it's no more objectively true than anything else, but it is what it is. It's beautiful because it's not foundational. You cannot anchor it, and therefore it's the beauty of the unknowable in that, yeah, that is the foundation of for me, I guess, happiness. The Just to not know, to never be able to know, and to know that no human, even if you believe in separation, you believe the story of evolution, you believe that people have been here for millions of years, whatever, they're going to be here for millions of years. No human who has ever existed or will ever exist, it knows that what they're experiencing is objectively real. I mean, that blows my mind to the ends of everything. I mean, no one will ever know. And that is the state of man, the unknowability of our species, that we can't know existence exists. You know, that isn't, I mean, and that's if you want to be a neurobiologist. I mean, if you want to be a neurologist, if you want to study the
I
brain,
was a neurobiologist. I did.
get out of town.
Yeah, I cut brains and I put
You're out of here.
in them, and yeah, and I dyed them with fluorescent dyes and looked at them
You're a
under
scientist.
I used to be. I used to be.
Oh my God. You're kidding me, man.
No.
You're kidding me. You're what I want to be. You're kidding me, really?
Yeah,
Spill, tell me
I
about
was
this.
I was in a PhD program until I saw someone dying, and I saw a doctor. I saw this moment of compassion, and it kind of broke my heart open.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, like I want to. It shifted, like it kind of, I was super analytical, just like trying to understand how brain circuits worked, and the biochemistry of brain circuits, and how that like created functioning circuits. Because yeah, and it all goes back to the electron, because I it was like this, and it all goes back to the Super Bowl and my chemistry professor getting really drunk, and he had to leave. He had to resign, and they brought in this old guy who was like a master. He's like retired. They brought him in out of retirement, and he told how electrons, an electron is like a particle and a wave, and it's like everywhere in the universe, and it's like in contact with everything else in the universe.
Mhm.
And he was describing how this is like how organic chemistry works, is the arrangement of electrons and the waves, and how the waves overlap and like harmonize with each other. And I was like, this is what makes biochemistry, which makes brains. Like maybe I can understand what this is all about. Like this is like matter and consciousness coming together. I'm going
Unbelievable,
to
man.
figure it all out.
No.
You know.
So let me guess. It ended up where? Unknowability.
Well, yeah, that was what I mean. That's what when I was like 5 years old, that was what it was the unknowability of matter and the unknowability of consciousness. Both of those things being
That's
totally
it.
unknowable,
Right.
and wanting to, like, no one else got it. They were all trying to get me to know things, and I was like, okay, we can know things, but underneath all the knowing of these things is that it's all not knowable.
Thank
then
you.
We can know things.
Yeah, then
That's why
from
it's
there,
so awesome to talk to you, because it's
thank
like
you.
I feel like we can have that foundation, even though I don't not know it as well as you not know it.
It's so
Like,
beautiful. Thank you, man. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Yes. What makes the neuron different from what the neuron observes? What is the process there that makes, those two, the observation and observed ultimately, from that perspective? I mean, I don't even know. Can you call the quantum time and space, and then and separate? How do you determine, where the neuron stops and where observation begins? You know what I mean?
yeah, 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 yeah. It's all the same stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for being here so much. It's wow. Yeah. So we're not even wow. So now I'm intimidated because you're a doctor. I mean, come on, man.
No, I didn't. I dropped out because I felt this love, like this amazing. There was this guy who had a stroke, and he was unconscious in a bed, and he had a day to live. He was in a coma, and then he was gonna die tomorrow. And his grandchildren were like curled up with him in bed, and his wife was there, and she was like out of her mind. And this doctor brought the wife into a room, and she brought me in. She made me, I was going to stay out, but she said, you come in. And I saw this moment of like just like compassion or loving, or and it just like spun me around. It just like I was all like, I'm going to understand it with my brain. And then I was like, wow, this, because it was spontaneous. I realized in that moment that the heart, like, I don't have to come up with a reason to do anything, right? So, but then I was like, I gotta test this. And I went to like nursing homes to like clean people's butts to see if the heart could clean people's butts.
Oh no, man.
It's like the ultimate test.
Dude, that's I did a version of that, but nowhere near that. That's hardcore. You went and wiped old people's butts at convalescent homes
Yeah.
to test your heart, or to test heart,
Test the heart. Yeah.
the heart. How did it work out? What happened? Tell me.
You know, a lot of days it worked out, and then sometimes it was just like, nope, not today. But a lot of the time, you know, it surprised me that it could work that way. That because it's so real, and you know, like there's someone who can't do something. It's not an idea at that moment. I mean, it is an idea, but it's not like, it's just natural. I think it's natural to, for me anyway. Yeah.
It's that's the best kind of person to. The, somebody was saying, the weirdest thing. My mind just went in a whole circle, or like, but the weirdest thing is when you listen to the appearance of others that say, well, if there was no reason or purpose or meaning, I would just go and do all these horrible things, and I was like, yeah, I don't get that at all. The reason, the reasonlessness, the meaninglessness, the purposelessness of kindness for its own sake, is what makes it most beautiful. And it's like, it's because there's no reason or purpose or rhyme or
Uh,
it's because there's no truth or understanding that makes it so beautiful, because you love it as it is. It's as it is, unconditionally beautiful, even,
yeah.
and it's so, to do something kind for a reason, it pales in comparison to just be, you know just kind for, just to be kind. And
Yeah. Well, that's what I was doing it for, was to not have a reason.
right.
Right? Because that was my reason.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's just incredible, man. I mean, to just go out and how long did, I mean, come on, man. How long did that go on for?
For like 2.5 years, 3 years.
What? What?
You know, what I really like the people with dementia, because they're not like making up a game. Like, okay, so some of them are stuck in the same game. They got like one game. Like, I got to drop my kids off. Where'd my kids go? I got to pick my kids up from school. And they're in that game like half the time. But the time when they're not in that game, they don't know what the hell's going on. And I don't know what's going on with them either. Like, they're like, this one woman, she would be like, and then she'd be like, and like, I had no idea. Like, I felt like I knew where she was at a little bit, but she was just in like awe of everything.
Yes.
And people who just, they would forget moment to moment to moment, and so you couldn't, like, the story level didn't really work, you know more like, are you, and they could kind of see, like, if I was having a bad day and I was feeling grumpy, they wouldn't let me, like, they wouldn't trust me, like, part of them knew, like, oh, okay, this guy. But if I was actually like happy and okay, then they would go along with whatever, they'd go, oh, okay, let's go to lunch, all right.
That's incredible. I did a very brief stint. I was feeling down, and you know, uh, just things weren't going very well, and I was in I was in pain, and I didn't know what was going to happen. Everything was up in the air, and my physical abilities were diminishing quickly, and so I said, you know what, I thought about, just the whole that point where you go, I could end it. And then I thought, but you know, it's gonna be over so fast, anyways. And if I could still walk, I could still ride my bike, which made my knees feel great, and I could still get around. I got to There's got to be somebody worse off than me. You know, there's got to be somebody I can help. You know,
Mm.
so I went to a soup kitchen and just snuck in the back door and grabbed a broom and just started sweeping. And they thought I was like a part of some kind of they thought I was a part of a work release program or some shit, whatever it was. And so I just started, the next thing I know, I'm handing food out and I'm, helping them do their thing, and
Wow.
yeah, I got the whole schedule together because I found out, okay, this is a soup kitchen that does this every Tuesday. This one does it every Wednesday. This one does it every Thursday, Friday. This one does it once a month on, and I would just go to each one of them and just kind of sneak in the back door, grab an apron, and start helping. And nobody would ask me anything until like I'd be there for months, and somebody would go, "So when do you get off the work release program?" And I was like, "No, man, I'm just here." And I'm like, "What? I thought you were on probation or something." And nah, I just grabbed an apron and started helping. And I ended up going all over town at different days, doing different things for lunch. Um, and I started meeting people. And the next thing I knew, I was meeting people on both sides of that table, the ones that were serving and the ones that were getting food. But sometimes it was so weird because you didn't know what side of the table you were on, or they were on. It was like everybody just started helping everybody, and
Uh,
that's kind of how it was. It's no, I mean, it's brutal. It's a hard reality. You see a lot of very brutal stories, but hook up, just help old ladies. I ended up helping a friend of mine's grandma, and she really loved me for some reason. She just loved me. I don't know why, but she fell ill, and I went to hospice with her. And it was the weirdest thing. I went to hospice, and that whole kind of that thing just kind of happened where she just kind of looked at me and said, she was so looped. You never know, but you got to understand, it's like 6 months prior to this, it had occurred to me to end it all. Like I could do this.
oh
I'm
yeah.
done. And now I have
Yeah.
this little old lady saying that, she's like, "Oh, there's angels around you." She says, "I knew you were coming. The angels told me you were coming." And it, and it was like, okay, 6 months ago I was going to kill myself, and now I have a little old lady telling me that that the angels are telling her that everything's, that I'm great, I'm fine, I'm good, she's good, everything's going to be fine. I knew you were coming, and I left that. That was the last time I saw her. She
Mm.
died very shortly after that. And I was walking through the parking lot as I was leaving the hospital, and it's just one of those things where it kind of felt like I felt like the wind just kind of went right through me, and just like spring cleaning kind of situation where all that stuff was gone. I had Within 6 months, I had no time. I had no time to be depressed. There's so many people that need help.
Mm.
I mean, if you're depressed, and for years, I would tell people when people said I'm depressed, actually, somebody asked me, they were bored the other day. What do you do when you're bored? I should have told him to go to the soup kitchen and try to help out. But that's what I did, and it helped. I never, I it just, I did, I never went back to that place again. And it's gotten pretty bad. It got like my physical, as far as the story of me has gotten harder. But it's never occurred to me that, to end it all or anything like that. It just doesn't occur. It
Yeah.
just never happened. So I would recommend that. If you're bored or if you're depressed, just help people. And it's like you said, though, there are those days, there are those people that just absolutely. The funniest thing is getting used to the people that just expect it. You know,
Mm.
you can go way out of your way to help somebody, just do everything you can to help the needy and blah, 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 blah. And they gotta sit there, and he'll look up at you and just kind of take what you have to offer and say, and just not even say thank you or anything like that. So I learned really quick, it's not about getting a thank you at all. It's not
Oh,
about
yeah.
that. You can't do it for their gratitude, or you can't expect them to kiss your butt because you're helping them. It just don't work that way. It
You know,
does not work that
I liked
way.
the people who I liked the most were the people who I think they'd been really angry in their life, or like, but it's like life wears you down. Like when you're 80 or 90 years old, like
Right.
typically like they get worn down, but they still have that. It's like life in them, you know? So
Yeah.
they were like, they were getting pissed off about their coffee being cold, you know? And but it was just they had life, you know? It
Oh,
was, and
I
they were
let you.
trying.
Oh, please go ahead. Go ahead. I was going to interrupt you. Go ahead, please.
There was this lady, she would order like 6 hot chocolates and I would have to give them to her as my job, like
Oh
you
my
know, I'd be
God.
fired or whatever. So I'd bring
Right.
her these 6 hot chocolates and she'd take like a couple sips from one, a couple sips from the other, and then she wouldn't even get to the others, and then she'd be like, sir, you know, there's all kinds of stuff to do, like it's a busy job, but I'd have to stop because you never know what's going on for someone. Like I knew what
Oh
was
my
going on
God.
for her, but like legally I had to stop and, oh, okay, she's asking for help. She's like, sir. Then very slowly and painstakingly she would like explain how her hot chocolates had gotten cold and then she needed new ones. And it's just, in a way, it was a really beautiful game. Like a lot of people hated her who works there, you know, but actually everyone who worked with her long enough ended up loving her. It was really interesting. Like there's something about, because she cared about, like she was there, she was like playing her role like as well as anyone could play a role, you know. She was like an
You're
extremely good actress.
I remember I remember after my surgery, I went into a convalescent home for like a month or so after the second surgery. And there was a lot of senior citizens there. And yeah, it was a lot of that same stuff where like one of them, some of them would have like little baby dolls, and they would literally would think that they were their children. And there were the sons that would just sit there and wail all night long,
Yeah.
just wail. And yeah, there were others that I think I know what you're talking about. It's a and to actually take that on, I don't know, man. You're a bigger man than I.
Oh, yeah. it it just, it's part of the, it's just part of how it all happens, you know, the like the whatever. um you know, there were a lot of people. I remember this one person who, he had ALS. I was a staffing person going from person to person, place to place. And there was a place I'd never been before. And they always give you like the hard section so they get a break. Whoever has the hard section gets a break from it. The staffing person who doesn't know anything has to figure it out. And this guy had ALS and he was cramped up in a bed, you know, and he couldn't speak or anything. All I could see was his eyes. It looked like there was a person in there or something, you know, but could just see the eyes. And he was vomiting and he had diarrhea and he'd wet the bed, you know, and there, it was just a mess. And he was writhing around in it. And I had to like hold him down so he wouldn't fall off the bed and change him and clean him. And he started vomiting in the middle of it. And it just was like, not a problem. Like it was, it was at the other part, it was like at the end of a double shift. So I'd been going for like 16 hours straight, just busy. and it had felt like a problem for a little while there, you know, like I was like, oh man, been working, I'm tired, this, that. And then in the middle of that, I remember it was like, it just wasn't a problem. It just was not, there was nothing wrong in the middle of that, you know. It just was
Wow.
like, oh, this is not a problem.
Wow.
And I remember just trying to look at his eyes and trying to like have some sort of communication, like try to tell him I loved him, basically. Like, I
Yeah.
see, yeah, you're not just a problem to me, I guess.
Wow. Did you get the eye? Did you get anything?
I saw what I thought was sadness, like tremendous sadness and fear. And I don't know if he got my message, you know. I think I don't know, you know, I don't know. I
Mm,
don't know.
mm. Yeah, man. That's pretty sad. Could you? I always like equated stuff like that to just because everybody knows him, Stephen Hawking. If let's say that guy lived 100 years prior, and you have this mind, and everybody thinks that you're just there's nothing there, you know, and you're thinking about black holes and time and I mean you're literally debunking the norms of science, just by pondering, and and people are treating you like a child, or just just like a pain, a dispense, somebody that's a drain, you know, and the whole time, you know, and you can't communicate that, you can't communicate. I mean, how many people throughout history have had that situation
Yeah.
within that story, and that's how I would that's how I try to look at people like that, that you never know what's in there, you know what I mean? You just never know what's going on, and so it's that would be a pretty horrible fate. I'm not exactly, yeah. There's a lot to
Yeah.
be grateful for. I wouldn't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, it wasn't a problem for me. I don't know if I could say if the role was reversed, if I would say that if I was in that bed, it would I don't know though. I mean, it could just create an enormous surrender because it's such an extreme situation. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a million stories of, I can tell you about
Oh
all of
my
those
god.
people.
It's like a tribe of that everybody has to join if they're lucky. They live that long.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to join this weird tribe of dementia and all of these different diseases. Just the hassles of getting old. 2.5 years. I imagine you got all kinds of bad
Yeah.
stories. Oh man. So what do you do now?
I inspect paint. I measure the thickness of paint mostly.
Oh.
I tell people it's like being a coach for like the worst like baseball team, you know, like they just like I'm trying to get them to do a better job, and they're demoralized and
what do you do for a living? Did you say something about you watch paint dry? No, I
yes.
check the thickness.
Yes, exactly.
I've had some pretty bad jobs. I had some good ones. I owned a deli for like 10 years. Before that, I ran one for a while. And it was cool because I got to talk, I just love talking. I love talking to people.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things where you know, I would just constantly, just all day, every day, just talk to people and do these and make sandwiches. And the beautiful thing about it was, or the beautiful thing about this is, or at least theoretically, um, yeah, I just get to talk to people and I don't have to work. You know, I get to, it's kind of the same thing, and I don't have to worry about, I mean, a lot of times, the subject matter is far more, is far better. Um, but yeah, I mean, I essentially found myself doing the same thing that I love to do, only from the bed. There are far worse fates.
I can tell if you were in a nursing home, everyone would love you. It would,
Man, I
I
don't
can
know.
see that.
I don't know. Uh, yeah, man. I was in that one for a while. It was great. I love uh there's certain aspects about the convalescent home that I feared, like for a while it looked like I might have to go to one, and so I don't, but which is great. But it's just a constant, there's just people constantly, coming and going, in and out of your room. It just never ends. If you ever put your curtain around your bed, forget it. It's like a magnet for people to just, what are you doing? I mean, they don't necessarily ask you anything, but it's like this. If you need help, don't ask for it. Just close your curtain, and they'll come and say, "What are you doing? What do you need?" You know, that's how you do it. Don't ask like you need stuff, and because they'll never come. But if you act like you want to be alone, they'll never leave you. I mean, they'll just constantly be like, "Now, come on, you got to do this, you got to do that." Oh my God, rehab, brutal.
My mind is going back to timelessness. It's like, it wants to know. It wants to know.
Well, look at it like this. Um, Look at it like this. If knowledge is subjective, all right, and there's no tie to a brain in time and space. If you are not thinking, um, and your mind is, if you, as your consciousness is is undefinable, then what about what you're experiencing is actually time? Because let's say this: if your mind is just telling you a story about being an object in time and space, uh, uh, and that is what appears to be what's happening without foundation, then um, don't believe the story about the universe. Don't believe any of that. Uh, the Big Bang stuff, and you know, I've said this story a couple of times. Did we talk about the Big Bang already, or anything
That was what,
that analogy?
no, but it's interesting you bring that up. But yeah,
Well, it's like I was saying to another friend. It was like, he's big into the universe. He's big into science and relativity and all of that. Um, but he's not ready to make the leap of just not believing anything. But he knows he's becoming more and more aware that you can't really objectively know anything. So I said, he says, yeah, but what you're saying is insane. It's insane. It can't be. It just can't be. And I said, well, I'm not really saying anything, but no, but I digress. No. What I told him is okay, just lop off everything every you know lop off everything that you don't absolutely know within this immediate experience, meaning that the story of a big bang, the story of um, the universe popping into existence from not even nothing. It's essentially not even a dimension, right? So you have this point that just kind of, it starts expanding. Gravity rips away from the forces of nature or whatever that, however you want to interpret that, whichever theory you want. But within that, within that popular version, where time and space, matter and motion, cause and effect, all come from you know from not even nothing, not a non-dimensional point, and then grow and expand exponentially faster and faster according to our scale and what we can see of the universe. That it seems like that's what's happening, and it will evaporate into not even nothing, the big rip or what have you, where everything just completely evaporates. And there's a lot of different theories about what happens there, but I like Penrose personally. But anyways, so you have this story about an existence that you know quote unquote began uh you know billions of light years ago, from not even nothing into what we appear to exist within. And but we can't define anything within this happening not happening as it expands into not even nothing again. Well, why is it such a big jump to just say the Big Bang's happening right now? I mean, because it's just the Big Bang banging, right? So instead of believing that all of these billions of trillions of years and all of this excess space everywhere, why not? Your immediate experience is the Big Bang. It's coming out of nothing and going into nothing, not even nothing, and it's got no technical point or reason or meaning, and no cause, no effect. All of it is very analogous to the greater story of relativity. It's just it stops believing anything beyond what is right here and right now, which is a misnomer because it's not a here or a now. Because if it's not relative to any other position, it's not a point. And if it's not, if there's no future or no past, then it's not a tense. It's not a time. So it's not a place or a time. Much like the universe expanding out of not even nothing and going into not even nothing, it's the same thing. It appears to be happening, but does not happen as it appears. It just would literally be like believing in the Big Bang, just lopping off trillions of light years. And look at it like that, And he ended up having it. He had never thought of it that way, and he thought, let me get back to you on that, And I said, well, if knowledge itself is subjective, and you have to believe a story that.
Oh, you got muted. I can't hear you. You're I can't see you now.
Come and give me my brand new medical bed. I've been waiting for months for this thing. Yeah, I got my VA back check, and I figured if I was going to spend a great deal of my life in my bed, I might as well get a really good bed,
Yeah.
And I got a really good mattress and everything. I'm so excited. It's a good day. Yeah, I was supposed to get it like months ago, but it just never happened. But yeah, but yeah, that's how I kind of view it. It's very analogous to the Big Bang, but it's just this here right now, rather than the whole story of separation and consciousness. It's the immediate experience is relative to no other position, and so yeah, excuse me, it's not it's not a person that is observing other things, navigating time and space. Um, uh, it's literally it's I say like time and space is an individual in time and space is kind of like uh, you're in a room and you're walking around in the room. Okay. Um, a lot of weird things about time and space is that are separation or relativity, is that no 2 points can occupy the same time in the same place. So you are uh, completely subjective to anybody else's understanding of reality, because only you navigate space and time in the way you have. There will never, ever, ever, can never, ever be another you experiencing reality as you do in time and space. And in that way, I used to think it's kind of like almost like a private conversation with existence.
Mm.
Everybody's got their own private existence or private conversation going. And then another one is a solipsism, which says, your consciousness is all that can exist. So, and that's more like, you create a room, and everything that you're viewing is the room that you create. And, which it's got all kinds of holes in that, but a lot of people will look at that and say, yes, what I create, my consciousness is the totality of existence. So you're not a little point navigating just possibly infinite time and space. You're actually creating the totality of existence, and your immediate experience is that room. Well, then you have non-duality, which is kind of more akin to a room with a you being expressed in it. It's a room that exists relative to no other position, so it's not an object, and it's not in a time or a place. So what's happening in that room is not separate, because it's not a you looking at other things. It's the story or the expression of a room with a you looking at something else or observing other. So it's the story of your consciousness in that room that exists wholly for itself, and that is the totality of existence. So it's, so those are like three different ways of looking at, looking at, what people would like to call reality. I mean, and there's no way, really, I mean, that you can prove any of those. The an individual in time and space is as subjective as a solipsist, or as non-duality. None of them are technically right or wrong. They're just stories about an existence without validation or verification. which is which is beautiful. You don't have to necessarily, there's no rule saying you have to believe anything at all. You don't have to believe any story at all. And that's, I think, where a certain amount of pressure is released, to
Mhm.
me. I no longer have that. It's almost like you don't need to worry about money anymore. It's just that it's like you just don't have to worry about anything. It doesn't matter that, there's no answer. It's actually more beautiful that there's not. And it's more beautiful that you don't have to worry about it. And
Is that what people mean when they say it's just this? They're like,
yeah.
they're kind of saying, don't worry about trying to like figure it out because it's just this.
Well,
So
for
like,
me, to say it's just this is, it's kind of weird. I could say it's just this, but what does it mean? Like, if I'm a subjective point in time and space, and even within the context of a Q&A, and we're assuming each other's consciousness, I can't know that I'm conscious, and I definitely can't know that you're conscious. So um we are subjective points in time. The story of two consciousnesses talking to each other in a Q&A, and about things that cannot be spoken of. And so within that within that understanding, that it's not 2 points in time and space sharing intellect. It's actually the story of 2 points in time and space. It's
yeah,
the story of a room with two guys in it, that think that they're thinking and think that they have will,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they have a will, and they make choices, and they have a life, and they're consciously thinking and exchanging information, but only with a slight twist. It's like, it, but that's, but it's not what's happening. It just appears to be, you
yeah,
know it's the beauty
yeah.
of it.
It's like a story being told. It's like, It is like a play. It is like a presentation of these two people talking to each other
Yeah,
who
and
appear to be
I
connected somehow, actually,
yeah,
in that story
yeah,
exchange, in that story. Like they're the
yeah.
same story almost.
Well, yeah, it's like the book can't be the book without each character in the book, right? So, I mean, it's or like the birds chirping in the trees. It's like the two of us having this conversation as,
Yeah.
you know, separate individuals. You know, you might as well be looking at a tree with birds chirping in it, and then,
Yes.
you know, so we're just kind of these, you know, like UG used to say, dogs barking at each other. I prefer birds chirping in trees. Call that for whatever you will, but
Yeah.
you know, it is that subjective. So it's once you realize, you know, that, you know, that's the level of, you know, really truly there is no understanding it, you know, because knowledge itself
Yeah.
doesn't exist. You know,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, there is
Yeah.
no, and to say like,
Yes.
and to say that thought is reality is that is so paradoxical. And to say that to say that the self is beyond thought, well, that begs the question, you know, okay, well, what am I without thought? And then you start getting into, you know, you can get into, you know, under your presence and feeling, and people start talking about God and all kinds of stuff like this. And you know, but you can't, you know, it doesn't matter what you call it. You know, you know, from the get-go, you can call what, you know, what appears to be anything you like, and you could say there's something beyond it or there isn't, and you would be wrong in both cases. You would be wrong both ways. There's no way, because there's no beyond it once you speak it, and you know, and so it's already, you know, it's already what it is. And I'll use the analogy again of, you know, um, being a character in a book where suddenly, let's say, you're Watson in a Sherlock Holmes book, and you Watson leaves the book and starts talking and is able to talk to the person that's reading the book, you know, and the person, and is able to look around in that dimension, and then, you know, and to see that it's a book, and to see himself as a character, and then just look around and just in completely different and unexplainable situation, and then to go back into the book as Watson and try to tell Sherlock Holmes, you know, what has just happened, but you can't not be the character that's already written, and he can't hear anything that's not already the story. So it's as paradoxical as being able to say you can leave immediate experience, or there's something beyond thought or media, or, you know, anything like that, because you can't leave the self, you know, and then come back, because as soon as you say anything about I'm leaving the self, you've brought it into the reality that appears to be the self looking
Yeah.
at other. And so there's no way to get around that. And but you know, what I like to say about that is, yes, um, we can't say it and we can't explain it, but that's something that tells you there's something beyond experience, because we can't say it, because we can't put our finger on it. It's not me there, because there's not a me here. There's not a there there. You know, I can't go there because there's no dimension there. You know, I can't. You know, there's no me here, and it's not separate. But at the same time, it's not the same thing. You know, nothing and not even nothing. You know, or nothing and no hyphen thing are two, you know, two totally different subjects. And you know, it's like, you know, and we have, you know, really no, you know, example of either one of them. You know, you know, all we have is what appears. It's like
Yeah.
if somebody says, like, if you think beyond your experience, or let's say experience is prior to thought, or presence is prior to thought. How do you know that? If you're not thinking, if you're not there, how do you know? Well, you don't really know. It's kind of a feeling, or whatever. And then you just start telling stories. There's no way to articulate self prior to thought without, and it's not separate. There's no subject object. I mean, there's no language for that. So
Yeah.
to say it there is wrong. It's wrong because it's already here, just as unicorns exist within the dreams of children or whatever. I mean, that exists. You have a thought of a unicorn. Well, the unicorn exists in some capacity, although not as it appears a unicorn should. Whatever your imaginations of a unicorn is. So the thing is that it does exist, but doesn't exist as a unicorn. It exists as an appearance of a unicorn. We exist um, as the appearance of human beings on Earth in this unknowable universe, but without the foundation of thought, without the foundation of our, it seems like thought occurs, but it's not from a foundation. It's not going to a destination because there's no, the mind is telling a story to what? You're not, if you're not your brain or your mind, you're not a self. I mean, what is the self in that
Right.
case? And then from there, how can you say that you're thinking if you don't know the source of your thought or what you're going to think next? If you can't tell me what you're going to think next or the source of your thought, then how is it you that's thinking? And you can go on, and there's on and on and on. There's just no way that you can know that this is objectively real and that you are an individual consciously aware of other things in time and space. That is completely subjective as a dream, as a unicorn in a child's dream. So, and then for us to talk about that experience of the direct experience of no self and no there and no other, um, that again could be seen as that subjective um, happening, not happening from another dimension, just as a unicorn exists in some other capacity than this, but
Yeah.
yet somehow it's connected. And you go there, and then who knows what happens from that point. So the subjective understanding of time and space is relative to the unknowability of the origin of your thought. And
Yeah,
so
that's the word that came up to me, is that unknowability, unfindability of the origin, or I like how you put it, the origin of thought too, rather than like the self. I like the origin of thought.
if you can't know the see, that's the thing, everybody gets caught on source, right? You have the source of your thought. Okay, well, the source of energy, the source of reality, the source of whatever it is, spirituality, whatever you want to say. Okay, it is subjective, that there's a source for your thought, and everything that projects from that, which is everything that I just mentioned, is completely sourceless. It is not objectively true that everything that you deem to be real is coming from this manifestation of this physical object called the brain, and all the rest of it. So anything that anything regarding a source is subjective. And then so once you realize that reality is appearing out of nothing and into nothing and it's not you that's actually
Yeah,
observing
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and all of that, then it's sourceless. And that's why I call the page sourcelessness. It's because that that's what's happening. I mean, it's just there's no place to say um anything is objectively real or true or
Right,
happening at all.
right.
And so when people say, yeah, but it looks like it is, I mean, we're here, we're
That's
talking,
just
yeah.
the story though. That's just the
That's the
story part. That's like
right.
comes after. That comes after the primary uh
Well,
appearance, right?
no, I think it's something akin to simultaneity, in that it just happens. It just billows out of nothing. It literally
Mm,
blooms out of nothing. There's no, they literally just in this moment is instantaneously infinite. And I mean instantaneously infinite in that, yeah, just this is those subjective birds, chirping in trees and all of that. But that is another word for our, it's another way of saying these little consciousnesses that we appear to be, within this context of this here and now and this separation and us talking and having free will and all that. That is with you can't describe consciousness. You could talk for a billion years, and forever, and you will never be able to define it. So if that is the definition of reality, your consciousness is what you appear, or is what reality, as what reality appears to be. That's your consciousness. You're separate, you're observing other, but you can't define self or consciousness. And if it, so you can think of it infinitely, and all the different things that have happened within that story of consciousness is just this. So we do and we don't exist within that capacity. We do exist as, um, we do exist as the appearance of individuals that exist in time and space, but we are not. That is the story of that, but it does appear to be happening here and now.
Yeah,
So
the story appears, the story keeps appearing.
it does and it doesn't exist. Existence itself does and does not exist because if you're not your consciousness, all right, and reality is not subject object, and you're not thinking, right, then what you see as existence is a story of existence, but there is no time or space, and this is relative to nothing. So relative to not even nothing, it's not dimensional. So you can't even limit it to either finite or infinite. You can't limit it to dimensional or non-dimensional. It's neither of those things. The negation of non-dimensional is not even it, because just to negate it is to acknowledge that dimension could even be, it's just, to negate it is just as wrong as to say it's there. So it's literally, there's no true or false, and that can be, it's difficult for the individual self to deal with, because there's not a point for you to defend. There's not a point for you to attack. So within the parameters of conversation, and just being, you're just sitting there happy, your head's, whether you're thinking about something or not thinking about something as the appearance, and it's not really you thinking, and you're just sitting there happy as a clam, when no matter what anybody says to you, you can just look at them and see it as, you know, it's not really happening or not happening. And whatever they're saying is really either not true. It's true and it's not true. It appears but it's not as it appears. And so all of that, that is existence as a whole, is the same way. If it is that illusion of consciousness, then uh, as I was going to say to Giselle the other day, she's a hypnotist. She was talking about, consciousness is reality or whatever. And I said, well, the funny thing is that if consciousness is your reality, and you can say some words, you use suggestion to alter someone's reality as a subjective individual in a theoretical time and place, where she says, she's a non-dualist as well. And she was like, but consciousness is your reality. It is existence. Well, think about that. If your reality can be changed by a hypnotist who is saying some subjective words, then what is the probability that your consciousness is actually giving you an accurate depiction of actuality? I mean, if your consciousness is that malleable, you know what I mean? That somebody within the dream that you're sharing can get you to stop smoking, or to get you to jump ropes and skip around, and whatever. If it's that easy, what is the it's just another way for me to say, you see how subjective it is, you know. And
I would say it's utterly mysterious, like
yeah,
that the everything from whatever angle, whether it's the solicism or the subjective. I don't really know if I know what non-dual is.
I don't think anybody does. Huh?
But from like any angle, it's there's no certainty about anything, and it's except that it's mysterious. Like it's well, like when I look at something, like if I look at this mouse,
Mhm.
I don't know what it is. I don't know where it comes from.
Right.
I don't know how it's possible to be appearing
Right.
in my mind, or this in
Right.
this. It's not. How does it appear?
Right.
Even if it
Yeah.
does exist,
Well,
it appears.
that's the weirdest. That's the weirdest part, is that, and that's the hardest thing for the appearance of others to understand. And and there's good reason for that. There is no cause. I mean, there literally is no reason, rhyme, or yes, ma'am. The people out there. Okay, are they waiting on me? Oh, I don't know what they're doing. They're doing something. Could you open the garage door for me? Sure. And tell them, yeah, at their convenience, to come on in, and I'll be glad to talk to them. Thank you so much. Uh, So I got the hospital bed people here, and I'm gonna go, and I had to deal with that. Um, well, hang on a second. Let me see. Well, we'll see what happens. I'll wait. So, anyways, they say, do you have a minute? Are you still? Are you
I have
pressed?
to go pretty soon, but
Yeah,
I'm.
yeah.
This is really interesting. This point.
What point? Where were we at? I can't even remember.
You were talking about. I think you were saying that that's the hardest thing to share with people, is that something about the appearance.
Oh no, there's no. Okay, so like you're not thinking, right, and you're not actually doing anything, right. So you yourself don't have a will, and you're not responsible for the story of what's happening. So that's hard for people to understand. But what's harder for them to understand is that this comes out of, that's the entire thing, is that unknowable. It doesn't have an origin, a path, and a destination. Immediate experience does not have a cause and an effect. So
Yeah.
it's the hardest thing eh, for for individuals to grasp, is that there is no reason.
Yeah.
There is no mechanism to look at, and there's no way to determine. The best thing is to realize that it just simply appears out of nothing for no reason. That literally just can't, a self cannot deal with that. Just they just can't comprehend that there literally is no reason, and or purpose, or cause or effect. But yeah, to not even have, it's not even you, that there's no reason, rhyme, or purpose for, but this entire thing is for its own sake, unconditional as it will be. You know, it's hard to deal with sometimes, but only if you attach yourself to the fact that any of it was ever real in the first place. That is where the suffering would come in. But if you, even when the pain comes, if you realize that it's just happening and for no purpose or reason, for me at least, it dissipates any kind of suffering at all. I mean, I'm having pain right now. But it just doesn't matter. It just honestly just does not matter. So, which, I don't know. Sometimes I can eat those words, but pain is pain. There's nothing you can do
Yeah.
about it.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to have pain. I wouldn't like invite it in, but I remember even like really horrendous, horrible pain that like I was in, and it was it was very intense. It was very, very intense. But it like there was no stopping it. I don't know. Like there's nothing to do about it, you know?
Yeah,
So I had to,
it's. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
oh no, no.
Oh, please go ahead. Yes, I
Well,
love it.
it's just there's like it's like resistance is futile, you know? And so the it kind of takes over. Like it becomes the whole situation. And then there's not like there's it fills everything up with with screaming electrocution or whatever the particular feeling is.
Right. Hammer in the thumb. Yeah, for me, it's I never really, yeah, you never want to feel pain, of course, but the weirdest, oddest thing started happening in the story of my life with dealing with pain and stuff, and there are certain aspects of it that there's just certain aspects of pain that just as a byproduct you learn how to deal with, um, becoming the pain. You become it. Actually just immerse yourself in it. You don't run from pain. I
Yeah.
mean, you just don't. In my experience, and we could get into technique or whatever you want to do, but in my experience, if when it gets really bad and there's no option, you just become it. I don't know how to say it right now, but it's every little itty bitty bit of it. Um, just immerse yourself in it, and it dissipates. It truly does disappear. It's not something. It's almost like the unconditional, accepting unconditional love as pain. Okay, so you're accepting this unconditional is that is excruciating, and oh yeah, you like pain. Here you go, take that. It's like I didn't mean it. I swear, please stop. But no, instead of doing that, you just go, this is unconditional love expressing itself as this pain, as this suffering, and you just look at it as it is, and want for not, don't want to change it. Don't want to make it go away. Don't just don't want for anything. Just be the pain, wallow in it, just become the pain, and it will completely dissipate. It does for me. It works for me, and it. You know, you can see it's almost there's almost like a I don't know. There's something there to that, and at least in my story, that you could you can use the acceptance of what is unconditionally, even when it's excruciating, and you know, it's just you could see yourself, crying, or you could see yourself getting angry. You could see yourself getting mean, um, and just look at it for what it is. It's just unconditional love showing itself as an angry, bald, old, crippled guy that wants his hospital bed. I was being angry with these people earlier today, but yeah, man, I'll shut up now. I'll let you go, and I just want to say thank you. The kind words you said um, really mean a lot to me, and I'll try to have something a little different for you if we were to ever talk again.
Yeah, it's super nice to talk. I really, really appreciate your time. Really beautiful. You hit me with your laughter. Like there was especially one time I felt like you just this is this is amazing. You kind of have this amazing energy. You blasted me with it a couple of times. I feel graced.
That's funny. Hey, man, I'll tell you what. I hope I see you again real soon.
Yeah, yeah. All
Thanks, bro.
right. Enjoy your new bed.
Oh yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm gonna
All right.
post about it. I gotta post pictures from it, like a like a bikini model. Look at me in a bikini model on a sports car, Howard Howard on his new medical bed.
Oh my God.
I'll
There's
talk to you
probably a
later.
website for that. You can make
Oh
some
my
money.
God, there's got to be. I'll talk. If there's not, I'm gonna open one. I'll talk to you later. Brother. See you later,
Bye.
man. Right.